Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, reading from Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, Text 52. Padasharat Padma Palasharochisha Nakhadyubhirno Nantaragham Vidhunvata Pradarshaya Sviyamapasta Sadhvasam Padam Guru Marga Gurustamo Jusham Padasharat Padapalasharochisha Nakadyubhirno Nantaragham Vidhunvata Pradarshaya Sviyamapasta Sadhvasam Padam Guru Marga Gurustamo Jusham Padasharat Padapalasharochisha Nakadyubhirnontar Vidhunvata Pradarshaya Sviyamapasta Sadhvasam Padam Guru Marga Gurustamo Jusham Palacharochisha Nakadyubhirnontaragam Vidhunvata Pradarsha Sviyama Apasta Sadhvasam Tam Guru Marga Gurustamo Jusham Ashalata Chisha Nakadyubhirno Nantaragham Vidhunvata Pradarsha Sviyam Apasta Sadhvasam Vadam Guru Marga Gurustamo Jusham Padasharat Palasharochisha Pradarsha Sviyam Apasta Sadhvasam Padam Guru Marga Gurustamo Jusham Pada, by the lotus feet. Sharat, autumn. Padma, lotus flower. Palasha, petals. Rochisha, very pleasing. Nakha, nails. Dyubhihi, by the effulgence. Naha, hour. Anta agham, dirty things. Vidhunvata, which can cleanse. Pradarshaya, just show. Sviyam, your own. Apasta, diminishing. Sadhvasam, the trouble of the material world. Padam, lotus feet. Guru, O Supreme Spiritual Master. Marga, the path. Guru who? Spiritual master. Tamaha Jusham, of the persons suffering in ignorance. Translation. My dear Lord, your two lotus feet are so beautiful that they appear like two blossoming petals of the lotus flower which grows during the autumn season. Indeed, the nails of your lotus feet emanate such a great effulgence that they immediately dissipate all the darkness in the heart of a conditioned soul. My dear Lord, kindly show me that form of yours which always dissipates all kinds of darkness in the heart of a devotee. My dear Lord, you are the supreme spiritual master of everyone. Therefore, all conditioned souls covered with the darkness of ignorance can be enlightened by you as the spiritual master. Purport. Lord Shiva has thus described the bodily features of the Lord authoritatively. Now he wants to see the lotus feet of the Lord. When a devotee wants to see the transcendental form of the Lord, he begins his meditation on the Lord's body by first looking at the feet of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be the transcendental sound form of the Lord, and the 12 cantos are divided in accordance with the transcendental form of the Lord. The first and second cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are called the two lotus feet of the Lord. It is therefore suggested by Lord Shiva that one should first try to see the lotus feet of the Lord. This also means that if one is serious about reading Srimad Bhagavatam, he must begin by seriously studying the first and second cantos. The beauty of the lotus feet of the Lord is compared to the petals of a lotus flower which grows in the autumn season. By nature's law, in autumn the dirty or muddy waters of rivers and lakes become very clean. At that time, the lotus flowers growing in the lakes appear very bright and beautiful. The lotus flower itself is compared to the lotus feet of the Lord, and the petals are compared to the nails of the feet of the Lord. The nails of the feet of the Lord are very bright, as Brahma Samhita testifies, Ananda Chinmaya Sad Ujjvala Vigrahasya. Every limb of the transcendental body of the Lord is made of Ananda Chinmaya Sad Ujjvala. Thus every limb is eternally bright. As sunshine dissipates the darkness of this material world, the effulgence emanating from the body of the Lord immediately dries up the darkness in the heart of the conditioned soul. In other words, everyone serious about understanding the transcendental science and seeing the transcendental form of the Lord must first of all attempt to see the lotus feet of the Lord by studying the first and second cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. When one sees the lotus feet of the Lord, all kinds of doubts and fears within the heart are vanquished. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that in order to make spiritual progress, one must become fearless. Abhayam sattva sanshuddhihi. Fearfulness is the result of material involvement. It is also said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhayam dvitiya bhiniveta shataha syat. Have not memorized that verse. Fearfulness is a creation of the bodily conception of life. As long as one is absorbed in the thought that he is this material body, he is fearful. And as soon as one is freed from this material conception, he becomes Brahma Bhuta, or self-realized, and immediately becomes fearless. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. Without being fearless, one cannot be joyful. The bhaktas, the devotees, are fearless and always joyful because they are constantly engaged in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. It is also said, Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. By practicing Bhagavad Bhakti Yoga, one becomes fearless and joyful. Unless one becomes fearless and joyful, he cannot understand the science of God. Bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. This verse refers to those who are completely liberated from the fearfulness of this material world. When one is so liberated, he can really understand the transcendental features of the form of the Lord. Lord Shiva therefore advises everyone to practice Bhagavad Bhakti Yoga. As will be clear in the following verses, by doing so, one can become really liberated and enjoy spiritual bliss. It is also stated, Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The Lord is the supreme spiritual master, and the bona fide representative of the Supreme Lord is also a spiritual master. The Lord from within enlightens the devotees by the effulgence of the nails of his lotus feet, and his representative, the spiritual master, enlightens from without. Only by thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord and always taking the spiritual master's advice can one advance in spiritual life and understand Vedic knowledge. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha guro tasya iti kathita hyartha prakashante mahatmanaha. Thus the Vedas enjoin that for one who has unflinching faith in the lotus feet of the Lord, as well as in the spiritual master, the real import of Vedic knowledge can be revealed. Once again, the translation. My dear Lord, your two lotus feet are so beautiful that they appear like two blossoming petals of the lotus flower, which grows during the autumn season. Indeed, the nails of your lotus feet emanate such a great effulgence that they immediately dissipate all the darkness in the heart of a conditioned soul. My dear Lord, kindly show me that form of yours which always dissipates all kinds of darkness in the heart of a devotee. My dear Lord, you are the supreme spiritual master of everyone. Therefore, all conditioned souls covered with the darkness of ignorance can be enlightened by you as the spiritual master. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam tam sajivam sadvaitam savadhutam parijana sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, we're reading from the most transcendental form of the Lord, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam. And we are seeing so many nectarian things. I say this every time I give Bhagavatam class now, so I won't say it. I mean, I will say it again, but I won't belabor the point. But it always feels like such an austerity to have to speak only for an hour in how much Srila Prabhupada puts, even in one sentence, in two sentences. You can speak forever and ever and ever. There's so much nectar, not just in Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam, but of course also in Srila Prabhupada's transcendental purports. And we see one point. I think today I'll primarily focus on this concept of Krishna's lotus feet. But before I discuss that, we see that Prabhupada, he very much makes this point. Everyone serious about understanding the transcendental science and seeing the transcendental form of the Lord must first of all attempt to see the lotus feet of the Lord by studying the first and second cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So this is a very important statement, and it's another point that perhaps I belabor on too much, but I don't think we can belabor on it too much, which is that in order to have a substantial, significant, real experience of the beauty of Krishna, we must study Shastra. We must hear from Shastra, right? Prabhupada is making this point again and again and again, right? That the only way, if we are serious about seeing Krishna's lotus feet, we must hear Srimad Bhagavatam. We must speak Srimad Bhagavatam. We must read Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, our attempt can be serious. Is it possible to see the lotus feet of Krishna without taking to the study of Srila Prabhupada's books? Yes. Is it likely? No. This is what Prabhupada is saying here. If we are serious in our attempt, right? I just finished my last exam of the semester yesterday, right? And we can think, is it possible that I get a high distinction with zero preparation? Perhaps. Is it likely? No. But it is not that the study of Srimad Bhagavatam is study of knowledge, right? I heard this very sweet points once from one disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And he was saying that sometimes when he sits in Bhagavatam class, right, he'll sit there and he's hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and he's fighting everything he can to not fall asleep, right? But then he'll look around, right, in Krishna Balaram Mandir, and he'll look at his godbrothers, and he'll see, sometimes he can see they're fighting, right? They're fighting, not fighting sleep, but they're fighting to keep their tears contained as they're hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, this purport we're hearing today, it's so beautiful, right? How Prabhupada is describing the transcendental form of the Lord, right? And yet, if we hear fully Srimad Bhagavatam, right, we are thinking this sounds nice, right? But we will see it directly. If we are truly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing this purport, we will see the lotus feet of the Lord directly. But we do not hear Srimad Bhagavatam. I do not hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And therefore, when I read out the purport, I am not seeing the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? We unfortunately are more in the category of those who are fighting sleep than those who are fighting tears. Right? So this is what we must do. It is not simply that we should open our ears or that we should open our mind, but we must open our heart. And when we listen in such a way that our heart is open, then Srimad Bhagavatam will enter into it, and it will cleanse so many things. And cleansing so many things, then eventually we will be able to see the lotus feet of the Lord. We should not listen to Srimad Bhagavatam only, we should hear, right? There's a difference between listening and hearing. We can listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, or we can hear, we can drink its nectar, we can relish it. Param Pujyapad Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj, he was speaking once to Shukadev Swami Maharaj. He's a wonderful ISKCON devotee, ISKCON sadhu. I think he's an initiating guru now in India, right? And Shukadev Maharaj was a very, very fond of Gaur Govinda Maharaj. I don't think he was his Diksha disciple, but he would spend a lot of association, had a lot of darshan and mercy from Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. And at that time, a lot of the Western devotees who had taken shelter of Gaur Govinda Maharaj, right? It was said a lot of devotees who had struggles with their faith, right? Who had some sort of issues, who were trying to reconcile their understanding of Krishna consciousness. They were especially drawn to Gaur Govinda Maharaj. Devamrita Swami Maharaj, he says, Gaur Govinda Maharaj reminded us that ISKCON is the society to be Krishna conscious. He reminded us to remember Krishna. And of course, if any of us have heard Gaur Govinda Maharaj's katha, heavy, direct, beautiful Krishna katha, right? As a side note, Gaur Govinda Maharaj was once asked, because many people were leaving our ISKCON society at the time, right? And of course, Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he was a real force to keep people in. And somebody once asked him, Maharaj, what can we do to stop people leaving this ISKCON society? And Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he said, they will all come back if we have nice Hari Katha and sweet Vaishnav dealings. With these 2 points, who will want to leave? Right? So it's very important that we have this culture of hearing Bhagavatam. Anyway, so this Shukadev Swami Maharaj, he asked, he said, because Maharaj, he's a straight shooter, right? He'll speak his mind. And he said, Maharaj, your Indian-bodied disciples, they're running around here and there, they're doing so much intense seva non-stop to run this Bhuvaneshwar temple, right? But the Western devotees, they sort of they're just sitting around. They're not doing anything, right? I heard this pastime from Madhavananda Prabhu, and he himself is one of the Western-bodied disciples of Gaur Govinda Maharaj. And he said, he was there in the room when Maharaj asked this. And he said, actually, it was true. He said, most of us, what we would do is we would sit down, we would hear Guru Maharaj's katha. Of course, he's a disciple of Gaur Govinda Maharaj. And of course, again, if we've heard Gaur Govinda Maharaj's classes, maybe sometimes the Mangala Charan will go until the 45 minutes and then 2-3 hours of Krishna Katha, like that. So he said, if 3-4 hours a day we would spend listening to Guru Maharaj, and then afterwards we would just discuss amongst ourselves. Oh, Guru Maharaj said this, oh, Guru Maharaj said that. And then we would discuss for a few hours, and then Guru Maharaj would go for a japa walk. We'd go on the japa walk, we'd have prasadam, we'd sleep, we'd wake up, we'd do the same thing every day. He said, that's what we would all do. So he said it was perhaps not an incorrect question to ask. That's what Prabhu said. But he said, Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he gave a very sweet reply. He said, how Gaur Govinda Maharaj replies, Are Baba, like that. He said, Are, he said, they are doing such an important service. How can they do kirtan if they haven't first done shravanam? Right? They are listening to Harikatha, and they are listening with good intent. They are listening with sincerity. And when they hear this Harikatha with sincerity, then they will be inspired to do so many things. Right? So this is such an important seva. It is not that they are sitting around doing nothing. They are hearing and hearing and hearing, and they are getting this sambandha gyan, so that they are able then to do some service. So we see Prabhupada is making the same point. We must relish the Srimad Bhagavatam. We must hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. And when we do that, then we will be able to see the lotus feet of the Lord. So in this way, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam is so important. And hearing Shravanam is so important. And speaking is so important. And doing that together in Vaishnav Sangha is the most important thing. So in this way, we can feel confident in our Krishna consciousness if we are always discussing Krishna with each other, right? It's one thing to talk about the is reincarnation true or not? Should we be vegetarian? These things are important, especially for preaching, right? But once we are devotees amongst each other, we should discuss Krishna. We should discuss Prabhupada's books. These are the most important things. Anyways, so what are we seeing? What is revealed when we understand or when we hear? We see there's the famous pastime of the son of Uttanapad. Who is his famous son? Dhruv Maharaj, right? Dhruv and Uttama, right? These are the two sons. And we know Dhruv, he hankers Dhruv Maharaj, right? He hankers to be on the lap of his father, right? And we know his father, he rejects him away. Of course, Prabhupada, he writes in the purport, Prabhupada, he writes that it's not that his father had a bias against him. Instead, the father had a bias towards Uttama's mother, right? And because of this, he neglected Dhruva Maharaj. And we know, famously, this, what would we say? What would the English word be? Would we say stepmother? We would say stepmother, I think. Half mother. I think we'd say stepmother, perhaps, yeah. Right? So the stepmother, she of course tauntingly tells Dhruv Maharaj, oh, you should go and you should go do bhakti. Go do seva for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if you do the seva, if you do the service, then you will have the great sukriti to take birth in my womb, and then you'll be able to sit on your father's lap. And of course, Dhruv Maharaj, he later takes this guidance and he goes and he asks his mother, and his mother confirms, right, that this service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very high. Now there's one quick point I want to make. People often get confused, right? Suruchi, Suniti, right? One of them is bona fide, one of them is very envious, right? But why is the envious one the one recommending to take to bhakti first, right? Why is she saying this? Why would such a person say this? Our acharyas, they give several reasons, right? One of them is that she says it very loudly. If you read in Bhagavatam, it says she says so loudly. And she says so loudly so that her husband can hear. Saracharya says she said it, she wanted to impress her husband. Wow, I'm such a dharmic wife. And then she knew later on her husband would be like, wow, my beloved wife, you're such a religious person. You give such good advice like this. The other reason was that she was thinking, oh, if Dhruv Maharaj, if he follows this advice, then he'll become a pakka brahmachari. If he becomes a pakka brahmachari, well, mothers can be a little soft-hearted at this thought, right? And she thought, I will torture my co-wife in this way. He will go out into the forest, right? He will sleep on the floor, right? And his mother will always be thinking, what is my little boy doing? Is he eating properly? And she'll know he's not eating properly. He's doing tapasya. Is he sleeping comfortably? And she'll know he's not. He's sleeping on the forest floor. So, for these reasons, she gives this guidance. And of course, we see something interesting in this, right? It means two things. Two general points about Guru Tattva are there. One point is that not everyone who says something that is true is a bona fide authority. Not everyone who necessarily says Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead has realization of it. We should respect everyone who says Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we shouldn't necessarily see everyone who says that as Guru. Guru is a very high thing that has to be slowly developed, that confidence, that faith in such a personality. This is one point. The other point, though, is just because somebody is not a Guru, just because somebody is not on that highest platform, just because somebody has some apparent impurities in their heart, doesn't mean that they can't say something true. It doesn't mean that we can only hear knowledge, we can only hear realizations from those who are on the pure, non-envious platform. Right? But what must we do? We must be like Dhruv Maharaj, and we must go to a sincere Vaishnav, or Vaishnavi in his case, and confirm, is this understanding correct? And that's what he did. And he confirmed this understanding. And then he went, and of course he goes, and Narad Muni, he goes, and he says, little boy, what are you doing, right? Tiny little cute boy, what are you doing? And of course, Dhruv Maharaj, with full determination, he says, I'm going to go, and I'm going to engage in the intense worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And at this point, of course, Narad Muni, he becomes very, very impressed, right? And he initiates Dhruv Maharaj, right? And what's really interesting is he gives him diksha, he gives him a mantra, right? This is very interesting, because sometimes people will say, diksha can only be given to Brahmins, right? But Dhruv Maharaj is a Kshatriya, right? So here we see Vaishnav Diksha does not care for Varna or anything. So in this way, Narad Muni, he gives this initiation, and then he leaves. And as he leaves, right, Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Ityuktas parikramya, right? So after this was spoken, parikram, Dhruv Maharaj, he does a parikram around this great personality. Pranam yatcha nripa bhakaha, right? Then the son of the king, he does his pranams. And then what does he do? Yayao madhuvanam punyam, right? He goes to Madhuvan, right? Which is the most auspicious place, punyam. Harish charana charchitam. That Madhuvan, right? That bank, that great place, what? Harish charana charchitam. Where the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are present. Now there's something interesting with this point. How can we say that the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord are present? When was Dhruv Maharaj doing his pastimes? So long ago. And when did Krishna do his pastimes? 5,000 years ago. So how can we understand that this place is Harish Charana Charchitam, the place that is embedded with the lotus feet of the Lord? The answer is, of course, that the lotus feet of the Lord, wherever he places them, there he places them eternally. These footprints that are there in Vraj, they are there from the whole previous day of Brahma. But even whatever cosmic activities happen, whatever passage of time happens, the lotus feet of the Lord are never affected. And what is the nature of these lotus feet? We hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when Krishna walks in Jamuna Tira, Vanachari, right? When Krishna, he walks upon the bank of the Jamuna. Whenever he walks in this way, it's said that the Jamuna, these whirlpools start forming, right? And some people may say that these whirlpools that are forming in the river, these outpourings of water, some might say that they're a natural phenomenon. But the Srimad Bhagavatam and our acharyas, they tell us that actually this is the emotions of the Jamuna, right? The Jamuna's emotions are being stirred up. And she's feeling such strong emotion that Krishna's lotus feet are here and they're walking at the bank, that as these emotions get churned up, waves start striking out, right? And these waves, they go and they touch the lotus feet of Krishna. In this way, the Jamuna is constantly touching Krishna's lotus feet. And not only is the Jamuna touching Krishna's lotus feet, but it's described that as the waves go and they crash, the waves again, they're like her hands, right? And what do they carry? They carry lotus flowers, right? They carry lotuses. And as these lotuses are carried out from the Jamuna and they're placed at the feet of Krishna, these are like offerings that are given at Krishna's lotus feet. So how sweet are these lotus feet of Krishna, right? We know that there's many marks on Krishna's feet, correct? Correct, yes. And one of these marks that's on Krishna's feet is the fish, right? And there's a few different explanations given in the Shastras and our acharyas for the fish, right? But two of them. One is that just as the fish cannot exist without water, the fish will die if it's not in water, so too the jiva will suffocate if it does not absorb its mind in the lotus feet of Krishna. So in the same way that the fish will suffocate without water, we will suffocate if we do not immerse ourselves in the nectar of Krishna's lotus feet. And the second is that fish, what do we see? Fish in the water, what are they always doing? They're fickle-minded, going here and there all the time, right? And so the fish on Krishna's lotus feet, it represents that our minds are fickle, here and there, moving like this, until we place them at the lotus feet of Krishna. Then Krishna will tame our fickle minds. So of course Krishna, he has these markings, but it's described that when Krishna is born, as a little child, Krishna, he covers his feet, right? This is the description given. He holds his hands over his feet and he covers them. If I remember correctly, this is in Ananda Vrindavan Champu, but I might be wrong. It might be Gopal Champu. It's one of the Champus, right? And he covers his feet. And why does Krishna cover these feet? It's described that all of these Vrajvasis, they are unaware of Krishna's divinity. They're not absorbed in Krishna's divinity. And so Krishna, he hides these markings because they indicate his personality as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he wishes to hide it from them to not break the flow of this intimate love they have for him. So Krishna, he's hiding these symbols, these signs on his lotus feet. So in this way, Krishna, his lotus feet, they're described in so many different ways. And there's something interesting to be said. The Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes Krishna's feet. But it is only after Gopashtami that we start hearing about footprints being made. Because of course, Krishna's feet, they're very small, right? And Krishna, prior to his coming of age as a Gopa, he is not big enough to leave footprints. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we don't hear early on of Krishna leaving footprints in the soil of Vrindavan, right? He will leave footprints as he's stealing milk, right? And that milk spills everywhere, or he steals butter, and it spills, and then his feet, they step in it, and then he leaves footprints in this way. In this way he leaves footprints, but he does not leave footprints in the soil of Vraj. And therefore it's described that when Krishna enters into the forest after coming of age, and he is able to leave the impressions of his lotus feet in the forests of Vraj, it's described the forest becomes ecstatic, right? People always like to say Gopi Bhav, and of course Gopi Bhav is high, but all of Vraj is absorbed, right, in love for Krishna, right? The trees, they bend, right? If you see this, if you go to Vrindavan, I think, who here has been to Vrindavan? So when you go to Vrindavan, you see the trees, they're twisted, right? The trees are twisted, and there's two reasons given why the trees are twisted. One is given that the trees are in separation. They're in separation from Krishna. They're missing Krishna. And so they're twisting in pain, right? But the other explanation is given is they're twisted because they're twisting and they're trying to touch Krishna's lotus feet. So in this way, the very forest of Vraj becomes ecstatic. Krishna has left his lotus footprints upon this soil. And far from just Vraj, Mother Earth herself becomes ecstatic. Today, I can carry the lotus feet of Krishna upon me. So in this way, Krishna, his lotus feet, they're very, very substantial. They're very, very worshipable. They're very, very beautiful. And we hear, furthermore, as we go on in Srimad Bhagavatam, that there's a certain section of the Jamuna, south of the Jamuna, right? And this section, Mother Yashoda, she never lets Krishna go there. Because who's in this section of that most transcendental body of water? Who is there? Who lives there? Who lives in this southern-esque region of the Jamuna? Why would Mother Yashoda not let Krishna go to one section of the Jamuna? I'll give you a hint. His name begins with K and it rhymes with Alia. Kalia. So Kalia is there. Mother Yashoda, no, don't go Krishna, don't go Krishna, right? Mothers in general are protective, right? I'm flying to India tomorrow, and my mother's probably rang me like 10 times, don't forget this, come on, don't forget this, you have travel insurance, like this. I've traveled to India many times on my own, right? But still, her maternal heart won't let her stop worrying. But I think even if we ignore the factor of a maternal heart, if there's a giant multi-headed snake that's killing all the trees, I think that's a very valid concern from Mother Yashoda. So Mother Yashoda, she would always say, Krishna, you don't go there. Don't go to this section. But what's interesting is who else says, Krishna, don't go there? Does anyone know? Balaram. Balaram says don't go there, right? And of course, Balaram, he says don't go there because, well, he sort of has an affinity for the snakes, right? He likes them, right? Because of course, he becomes one, right? He expands out as an Antashesh. And so he sort of feels, I have this family connection, Krishna, just let him be, He's doing his own thing, right? And so we hear in this way, Balaram, he doesn't particularly encourage Krishna going. And of course, it's described in Shastra that Rohini, in her previous birth, she is actually the mother of Kaliya, right? Of course, we know previous birth means that it's actually her expansion, right? And that expansion then merges back into her. We know the same thing with Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, right? The Vrijvasis are the primary associates. Anyone who is their previous birth is actually an angsha of them, who does a pastime and then merges back in. We should never think that these primary associates of Krishna have attained that position. They're eternally there. This is described by Prabhupada in one of his purports. He says that in fact, the primary associates like Mother Yashoda, the predominant cows, their bodies are of the same quality as Krishna's, right? In a sense, we can consider them to be expansions of Krishna as compared to the other perfected jivas in the spiritual world. So, in this way, we hear that Balaram, he's got a bit of bias, right? And of course, we know Kaliya, he's in this area. Why is he hiding in Vrindavan? Does anyone know? Well, he sort of had a tiff, he had a fight with Garuda, right? Of course, he's Garuda's relative as well, right? And so, in this way, he had this fight with Garuda, and so he fled away, and he thought, I'll hide here in Vraj. So Garuda, in a way, he had even in his anger, he had driven Kaliya to take shelter in Vraj, right? Now Garuda, interestingly enough, we know Garuda, he is the one who is carrying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Garuda is also described by Rupa and Sanatana Goswami as being one in mood or an expansion of Sridham in Vraj. And the reason why we can see them one in mood is because what does Garuda do? Who can tell me what is Garuda's job? What is his lot in life? Besides eating snakes, that's everyone's favorite. What does he do? It's not a trick question. I'm not tricking. What does he do? Very simple. Well, if we say, yeah, he flies, but why is he flying? He is carrying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so Sridham, he does the same thing, except it's when the cowherd boys are playing. Sometimes Krishna will get on Sridham's back, and Sridham, he'll carry him around, right? So in this way, the Vraj origination of Garuda's behavior, carrying the Supreme Personality everywhere, is found in Sridham playing with Krishna, and Krishna hopping onto his back. So in this way, he has fled from Garuda, and he has taken shelter in Vraj, right? Of course, taking shelter, he's killed all of these different various fish and trees. Of course, because we know of the great Rishi's curse, right? Because he criticized Garuda himself for eating at the bank of the river. So as a result of that curse, Kaliya is the manifestation, and all the trees die. We know famously, except for the one tree. I don't have time to say the whole pastime, so we'll cut it short, right? So then what happens, of course, one day it's Balaram's birthday, right? Our acharyas say, actually, it's not his birthday as in Balaram Purnima. It's the day when the moon enters into Balaram's birth constellation. So it's a smaller holiday, right? And on this day, of course, I made the point about mothers before. I'll make another point about mothers. The other thing mothers love to do is they love to celebrate all of the festivals for their kids, all of the landmarks, right? I remember, any little milestone I made in my life, my mother would always, make a big celebration for it, right? And so Balaram is not allowed to go out to play today. He has to stay home for the celebration. But he turns around and he tells Subal, he turns around and he tells Subal, he says, I can't go out and play today. But you, therefore, need to tell Krishna he can't go to Kaliya. He can't go to the Jamuna. Because I'm not there, I know Krishna will think, oh, now I'm free to go there. Balaram won't stop me. But by the time Subal arrives, it's already too late. All of the cows, they've drunk the water, right? This poisonous water, and all the cows die, apparently. Right? Yogamaya covers their minds and they seem to die. And then what happens is all the cowherd boys, they drink the water as well. And we know very famously, why do they drink the water? It's silly, you've just seen all the cows die, right? Why would you drink the water? Sorry? Well, they think, what's the point? What's the point of being a Vrijvasi if we don't have cows? We are living in Go Loka, right? We are living in the land of the cows. What is the point of our existence if we don't have our cows? So if the cows have died, we may as well die as well. So then they drink the water and then they also die. And then, of course, Krishna, he sees this and he becomes so heartbroken. And then this is also a famous description, right? It's described that by the nectar of his glance, by the nectar of his darshan, they all come back to life. And our acharyas say the nectar of the darshan literally means the amrit, the nectar of the tears that he was shedding as he saw them. And as the tears emerged from Krishna seeing all of his friends, they formed these rivers. And these rivers all flowed out and they touched each one of the cowherd boys and each one of the cows. In this way, they become resuscitated. Anyways, we don't have much time. So what happens then is, of course, these cowherd boys, they all become rejuvenated. And then at this point, of course, Krishna, he climbs up the tree. He doesn't tell them what he's doing, because if he does, they'll stop him, right? So Krishna climbs up the tree. He ties his dhoti nice like a real nayak, like a real hero. And then he goes and he dives in. And he dives into the water. And then, of course, Kaliya then goes and wraps him up. Sanatana Goswami gives an interesting interpretation. He says that Kaliya wraps him up because Kaliya is like a new bhakta. Bhakta Kaliya. Sanatana Goswami says this, and he says that Bhakta Kaliya sees this beautiful form of Krishna, but does not know how to interact with him. He's rough around the edges. He doesn't know Vaishnav dealings well, right? He doesn't know how to do his sadhana properly, right? And so he wants to hug Krishna, but instead he wraps him up like this, right? And when he goes to bite Krishna, he's trying to kiss Krishna, but he doesn't know how to, and it comes out as bites. So Sanatana Goswami says that this is what the new devotee is like, right? Stepping on everyone's toes, right? But we should see how much mercy Kaliya gets. And we should think that in the same way, we should be so tolerant when new devotees act. And we ourselves are new devotees. We will notice in ourselves how many ways we are stepping on the toes of senior Vaishnavas, right? We should tolerate, and we should also be happy that we are tolerated. And eventually, Krishna will dance on our head as well, right? Anyway, so the point is made by Sanatana Goswami. But we can take the other external reading of the demon goes to try to kill Krishna, right? Anyways, at this point, we know all these inauspicious signs, they manifest. And as all the inauspicious signs manifest, everyone becomes heartbroken. Everyone becomes heartbroken. Krishna is dead. That's what they all feel. And so they all rush there. And Krishna, he stays wrapped up by Kaliya for 1 hour, right? 1 muhurta also. No, wait, how long is it? 1 muhurta. I think it's 1 muhurta that he's wrapped up for. Anyways, he's wrapped up for a long while, right? Now, everyone is upset except for Balaram. Srimad Bhagavatam explicitly says when everyone enters into panic, Balaram does something. Does anyone know what does Balaram do? Balaram, he smiles. Balaram smiles. Everyone else thinks Krishna's gone, right? But Balaram smiles. 2 interpretations given for Balaram's smile. One is that Balaram smiles because he wants to reassure everyone. He's, Balaram, mature, responsible Balaram. So he thinks if I smile, then everyone will calm down a little bit. I'll keep things cool. But the other explanation given is Balaram is thinking, this reminds me of when I take the form of Anantashesh, and I also am a snake wrapped around Krishna, right? But then he smiles because he thinks, but Krishna never dances nicely like he's about to with Kaliya with me. So Krishna, he smiles at this thought. Anyway, so everyone runs. And at this point, there's a very curious question. No one goes to that place where Kaliya lives, and Kaliya has been living there for so long. How did they know how to get there? How did they know to get at the exact place where Krishna was? Right? There's no pathways. Who's building a road to Kaliya to get poisoned, right? So how did they know? Our acharyas, they say, I'm saying this whole pastime almost just for this one point, but our acharyas, they say that the lotus footprints of Krishna were there in the soil of the forest. And so all of the Vrijvasis, they followed these footprints. And these footprints, they were able to follow them for 2 reasons. 1, Krishna's footprints are eternal. And 2, everyone in Vrindavan, whenever they see a footprint of Krishna, they worship it. How can they step on that footprint? How can the cow step in the footprint? How can the animals in Vrindavan are all devotees as well, how can they step in the footprint of Krishna? So in this way, every place Krishna would step in Vraj, the footprint would be there, undisturbed. And so in this way, there was actually a perfect pathway. They could just trace his footprints all the way to Kaliya Ghat. And in this way, all of them, they go. And then they see Krishna right there with Kaliya. And then, of course, again, I don't have much time, so so many other details are there. Such a beautiful pastime in Bhagavatam. And Krishna, eventually, what does he start doing? He starts dancing on the heads of Kaliya, right? What mercy, right? The demons in Krishna Lila, who are they killed by? Not Krishna. Chaitanya Charitamrita says Narayan kills them. Krishna, he plays around, but when he does the killing blow, that's the Narayan aspect that kills them. Krishna has better things to do with his time than to kill demons, in a sense, right? So, it's always Narayan who does the killing blow, right? But there's one thing Narayan doesn't do. Narayan doesn't dance, right? Narayan doesn't dance. It is Krishna, Vrajanath Krishna, who dances, right? So when Krishna is dancing on the heads of Kaliya, that is not Narayan's mercy, as great as Narayan's mercy is. That is the full mercy of Rajanath Krishna, right? And in this way, he's dancing on the heads of Kaliya. And now we can wonder, how valuable are the lotus feet of Krishna, right? The bank, the Jamuna herself, is reaching out to touch Krishna's lotus feet, right? And Kaliya is getting with I forgot who says this. Oh, who says this? I heard somewhere. I can't give you a praman for this. I'll try to find it later on. But I heard somewhere that Indra himself plays mridanga for Krishna's dancing, right? And Krishna dances like this. How much mercy! These lotus feet. We know Krishna as a little baby, right? He's so curious. These feet are so worshipped by everyone. How do they taste? And he licks his own toe, right? These lotus feet, again, on Kaliya's heads. In this way, how much mercy Kaliya is receiving. Here are the lotus feet of Krishna. And there is a question. Why Kaliya received such mercy? If we take Sanatana Goswami's reading, then it's because he has that initial attraction, and Krishna will reciprocate that one drop of sincerity, and he'll ignore all of the offenses that are made. That one drop of sincerity, Krishna will reciprocate with. That's one way we can read it. Another way we can read it is that he is a relative of Garuda. And even to have the Vaishnav be angry at us is a blessing. And because of that blessing of having a great Vaishnav like Garuda be angry at him, that blessing was enough that Krishna thought, I will give him this one mercy. And then the other, there's many explanations. And another explanation is that all of his wives are great devotees, Kaliya. And because Kaliya was at least, maybe he was poisoning a section of the Jamuna, but at least he was nice to his wives. And because of that, he got the sukriti of serving the Vaishnavas. You can see how glorious is Vaishnav Seva, how glorious is the association of the Vaishnavas, that it can afford Krishna dancing on the head of Kaliya. It's described that when Kaliya left, he became a Vaishnav, right? It's really interesting. He's not a Vaishnav and he's allowed to live in Vrindavan. When he becomes a Vaishnav, then Krishna kicks him out. I'll discuss that point in a second. Okay. I'm going to have to go through my final points really quickly. So it's described that when he becomes a Vaishnav, what do Vaishnavs wear on their head? What do we wear? Tilak. It's described that the scars from Krishna's dancing became his tilak. And that was the tilak he wore. And he left. So sometimes people wonder, why did he get kicked out? And His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu, that same disciple of Gaur Govinda Maharaj I was quoting earlier, he describes that he was thinking about this once. And as he was walking in Vrindavan, he was chanting his rounds, he had a realization of what it was. But he felt because this was his realization, what did I say at the beginning? When we have a realization, when we learn something, we should confirm it with sadhu, right? So he had this realization, but he wasn't sure. So what he did was he thought, I will go and I will ask this question to my spiritual master, Srila Radha Govinda Das Goswami Maharaj. He said, I will go and I'll ask, but I won't say what my realization is. I'll just ask Maharaj. And if Maharaj says the same thing, then confirmation. And Prabhu went and he asked Guru Maharaj, and Guru Maharaj did say the same thing. And he said that the reason why Kaliya was sent out, Guru Maharaj said, is the same reason that Prabhupada brought his Western disciples to Vrindavan and then sent them back. You've come, you've seen something, now go tell everyone about it. Krishna, he commissions Kaliya as a preacher. He commissions him a preacher. And then what does he do? He goes back to the land of the Nagas, right? He goes back to this place and they all say, oh, Kaliya, we haven't seen you in so long. What were you doing? And then Kaliya tells them all. There's a really, really beautiful blue boy with the name Krishna. And when he dances so wonderfully. And who goes to this place where all of these snakes are? Garuda, right? Garuda, he goes and he feeds on all of them, right? And so at this point when Kaliya is speaking this Harikatha to all of these other snakes, right? Garuda will sometimes come to feed, to eat the snakes, right? And then Garuda will see, hey, I remember this guy. I had a fight with him, right? not only that, all these snakes, I hate them. That's why I eat them, right? Of course he doesn't hate. He's a great Vaishnava, right? But then he'll hear, oh, they're speaking Harikatha. And then Madhavananda Prabhu says, this is his realization, that maybe then Garuda, sometimes he'll sit and he'll hear Harikatha and he'll relish it from his enemy, his old enemy. This is the strength of Bhagavad Katha. We can have our disagreements. We can disagree on all sorts of social issues and managerial issues and all sorts of things we can disagree upon. But Harikatha, the speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam, the hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, the relishing of Krishna's pastimes, right? That will create unity. That will create Vaishnav Sangha, even among enemies such as snakes and Garuda. So in this way we see this. I'll just say one more pastime, I hope you don't mind, just to wrap up. I'll just be another 3 minutes. Please, with your mercy. I apologize. Feel free to go, right? So then we see this is the nature of Krishna's lotus feet. And those same lotus feet that danced on Kaliya's heads, that danced on the banks of the Jamuna, they also dance on the bank of the Ganga as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Those same feet, the exact same lotus feet are there again. And what we see is that Mahaprabhu, sometimes they would do dramas, and there's one Brahmani, she came. There's one Brahmani came, and when she came, she went and she touched Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. And it's described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 17. It's described that Mahaprabhu became so angry and so disturbed that he ran into the river to wash his feet so that he could be pure. No, not wash his feet, he went fully underneath so he could be washed of all the sins that had been given to him. Because he was so anxious, no one should touch my feet, right? I am not capable. I am not such a great personality that I can tolerate so many sinful reactions. Of course, Mahaprabhu's humility, he's God, he can tolerate whatever. This is how Mahaprabhu felt. But what do we see later? And I really am wrapping up on this point. We know there are two great personalities, Jagai and Madhai, right? And one of them goes and throws a pot at Nityananda Prabhu. Which one is it? Does anyone know? It's Madhai, right? And just because we're running out of time. It's Madhai. Madhai is the one who throws the pot, and then he injures Nityananda Prabhu. And then at this point, Jagai, he feels a little bit of remorse, and he goes and he stops. And at this point, Nityananda Prabhu, he's bloody, he's bruised, he's all beaten up. And Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right, and Nimai Pandit, Vishrambha, right, he sees this and he becomes so angry, we know, and he starts saying chakra, chakra, and the Sudarshan chakra comes. Such a famous pastime, right? And as he summons this chakra, Nityananda Prabhu, he says one short phrase. He says, oh no, it's all right. Jagai protected me. And at that point, all the anger of Mahaprabhu went away. Just at this phrase, Jagai protected me, all of the anger of Mahaprabhu went away. Mahaprabhu looked at Jagai and he told him, he said, I'm so pleased to hear this. I will give you Krishna Prem. And in that moment, Jagai, he passes out, he faints. Instantly, he begins to feel the strength of bhakti in his heart. He faints. Pralaya, it's the last stage of the Sattvika Bhavas. Actually, it's meant to kill someone. But the Vaishnavas, they don't die. And the reason why they don't die from the intensity of prem is because dying is inconvenient for their seva. It's not because they don't want to die. It's because it'll get in the way of their service opportunities, right? That is why the Vaishnava faints instead of dying. What the Vaishnava experiences is so strong that it actually will kill. But they will resist death so they can continue doing their services. So in this way, he faints. And then Mahaprabhu, he keeps on telling him, he says, wake up, wake up. Wake up again. And Jagai, he's waking up, and Mahaprabhu says, what do you see? And at this point, Jagai, with Prema Chakshush, he sees Chaturbhuj Mahaprabhu. He sees all of these things, and then he realizes who these personalities were that they were interacting with, and he faints again. And then Mahaprabhu, he says, wake up, wake up. And then what does he do? Mahaprabhu, he places his feet on the chest of Jagai. He places his feet on Jagai's chest. Those same feet that a Brahmani born in as holy a place as Navadvip, stay away from my feet, stay away from my feet. He was angry. Those same feet, willingly, Mahaprabhu places on the chest of Jagai, and it's described like ratnas, like gems. Jagai, he begins to cry and weep, and he holds them to his chest and he doesn't let go, right? Now, this is the point that I'm wrapping up on. It raises the question, Jagai, Madhai, so sinful we can't imagine. We don't believe in eternal hell, but if anyone would have got eternal hell, it would have been them. Mahaprabhu gives one of them his lotus feet. He gives Jagai his lotus feet. But he doesn't give his lotus feet even to someone as pious and auspicious as a Navadvip Brahmini. Why is this? The reason is so simple. Because Jagai protected Nityananda Prabhu. Because Jagai did Vaishnav Seva. Because Jagai did some service. What is that service? I won't let you die. I won't let you get killed. For that tiny service, Mahaprabhu was so pleased. He gave him Krishna Prem and he gave him his lotus feet. Those same lotus feet that the Jamuna, right? The Jamuna is trying to touch at all points. The same lotus feet that the gopis all the time, Venu Geet, Gopi Geet, they keep saying, how blessed are those feet, how blessed are those feet. We wish to touch those feet. Those same feet that the gopis, the highest beings in existence, they're hankering to touch. Those same lotus feet that Krishna wants to experience, that's the whole reason he's Mahaprabhu. Those same lotus feet are given freely to Jagai because he does this tiny seva to the Vaishnav. So how glorious is Vaishnav seva? How glorious are the devotees? And how glorious are Krishna's lotus feet? I'm so sorry, 5 minutes over time. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. And Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.